Hey everyone, I know I said last week we would not be live. We're obviously live. My event that I have to do is next Thursday. So thank you for tuning in. I'm so excited for our guest today. Dr. Lisa Lippman will be here very shortly with Pet Loss Community, somebody that I've just gotten to know. And I'm so excited to have her. Live Like Rue is so excited to have her. But before we get to that, I wanted to say thank you to our marathon team. Our marathon team raised $25,000 in the Chicago Marathon on Sunday. I can't even describe the event. I was crying most of the day watching these people like literally living out their dreams. It was amazing. I'm getting teary just talking about it now. But we had 10 runners. Our first year, $25,000. We have 15 spots next year. That amount of money at this point in time when we're really struggling, I appreciate it so much. So not only did they live out their dreams, they raised money for a terrific cause. And I can't thank them enough. I could never run a marathon. I wish I could go out there and run for Team Rue, but I'm so thankful to these people that really put in months and months of training. And then actually they all completed the marathon and raised over $25,000 for animals with cancer. So just incredible work. And we cannot wait for 2024. We're already planning 2024, if you can believe it. And it's just less than a week out. Okay, quick shout out to the sponsors and then we'll get to Lisa. Thank you so much to our presenting sponsors. Canine Cruise is the place to take your pet. They offer dog and cat boarding, dog daycare, pet retail, and mindful day school. With over 12,000 square feet of indoor space and a spacious yard, they're the one-stop shop for professional pet care in Chicago. Bark Pouch makes game-changing lickable treats for easy breezy time with your dog or dogs. Their grab-and-go pouch makes treating mess-free, and with 5 irresistible, all-human-grade recipes in 2 sizes, even picky pups find a favorite. 1 gentle squeeze and a quick lick of Bark Pouch dog treats, and you'll enjoy amazing attention, even around squirrels. Kiki's Corner Natural Pet Foods in downtown Winfield, just a block south of the CDH Hospital and the railroad tracks. Kiki's has all your food and health aid needs for dogs and cats. Kiki's Corner for a healthy, happy pet. Thank you, sponsors. We love you so much. So, as many of you know, if you've been listening to this podcast or follow Live Like Rue Foundation, probably one of the biggest questions I get is, how do I know when it's time? How do I deal with it? In fact, we created a support group, which the first caveat in there is we are not veterinarians. This is a sounding board for people going through the same thing. And now, as I bring in Lisa, we actually have a professional to help us. Lisa started Pet Loss Community. Lisa, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. So thrilled to be here.
Yes. So we met at PetCon, which we did a little preview of that on this podcast in July when it happened in mid-July. And I actually got to talk to Lisa in person, which was great. And she said, hey, let's chat more about how we can help you. And long story kind of short, because I want to get into what it is. We are now partnered with Pet Loss Community, and our clients that we help, we can now provide them the resources for pet loss grief, anticipatory grief, which Lisa and I have been talking a lot about that because sometimes that's worse. I mean, and I think if you've been through pet loss, the first time is bad, but then the anticipation of every time, and if you have a lot of dogs or like me, save a lot of old dogs, unfortunately you deal with a lot. So Lisa, welcome. Before we start, I kind of want to go over your resume because it's amazing. Tell everybody what you do and what you've done.
Yeah, well, so I'm a veterinarian. I've been a veterinarian for about 10 years, which is pretty crazy. I started off I did my 100-hour internship in Manhattan, and then I did a couple of years of emergency, a couple years of general practice, started my own house call practice, and I'm currently the director of virtual medicine for Bond Vet. So I run the telehealth program there. But sort of in my spare time, I do a bunch of Instagram tips and tricks for pet parents and co-founded the Pet Loss and Grief Community, as well as a senior dog course for pet parents with Dr. Monica Tarantino. and Dr. Lauren Edelman, who's an internist for the pet course, but also for the pet loss community with Dr. Tarantino, who's AKA the senior dog doc. And that's kind of everything I do.
Yeah, so as you guys can imagine, I love them so much because the senior dog thing, Dr. Tarantino, her email address was like senior dog doc, and
Yeah,
then the text chain was just a flurry of old dogs
and
saying,
chihuahuas, right?
yeah, old chihuahuas. Yeah. So they're so near and dear to my heart. And I know Dr. Lippman, this kind of pet loss community has been around for a little bit, but it's still relatively new. You're kind of still figuring out your way. But tell us about it, because you don't just offer, okay, although I do appreciate the blogs on there, and I didn't realize they were there until I was looking today. Those blogs for
Oh.
somebody that is experiencing this for the first time are incredible. It's like a great first step. There's even a blog like what to do if your dog gets cancer. And the first thing is like, don't freak out. And that's what everybody does. It really is. But can you just go through, it's not just a website. There's amazing, incredible resources.
Yeah, we have so I mean the whole premise of the pet loss community is, don't go it alone. Pet loss, we know, is a very disenfranchised grief, meaning that so many people don't really understand it. Family members may not understand it, loved ones may not understand it. And so, you don't have to be alone. And we have free resources. So we have a free, so the blogs that you're talking about, and then we also have a free PDF on coping with pet loss and grief. We have a PDF on coping with anticipatory pet loss and grief. And we also have a free PDF on resources for kids to help children cope with pet loss and grief. And, because that's a really, really tough one, obviously. And so we have support groups. We have a Facebook group. We have support Zoom groups that meet every other week right now, that are run by master's level licensed clinical social workers. And they also do one-on-one support. So if you feel like, we've got a little bit of everything. So if you want to be in a group and really get that camaraderie, that's great. You have that option. But if you want that one-on-one support, we're also there for that. So.
Yeah, and really just incredible offerings. I mean, I've not really seen anything like it. I mean, more so it would be like, okay, I'm going to go to my therapist and talk about this. So it is nice that it's centered. I think it's really hard. Another question I get is like, how do I tell my kids this is going on? Our dog is 4 and has cancer, and like, so having like these kind of resources now is amazing, because I used to just say, I don't know a lot about that, just Google it. So
Yeah.
I'm so thankful to you. I think too, like you just said, a lot of times I see, and I think we see, especially people in the rescue community see, or just people that like love animals and maybe don't have kids like me. Somebody might say, oh, like, why aren't you spending that money on humans? Or why are you mourning this dog for 5 weeks and now it's a year later and you're still mourning this dog? I think that part of it too, and I hope you can speak on it. Just, you shouldn't feel bad about how long it takes you to grieve the loss of an animal.
No, actually, we know that the tip. So, thank you for speaking, first of all, to the disenfranchised grief that you talked about, right? Where people go, oh, it's right, it's just a dog, get another dog, or they don't really understand. And then, to your second point, what was the second question? Sorry, I lost it. I had it and then I lost it.
Just, what kind of advice do you have for people? Like, there's no timeline to
Oh,
grieve.
right. In fact, we know that the typical grief period is actually about 1 year. And so we find that, nobody really comes for just a month. It's such a great group. I mean, people are typically there for 3, 6 months, and we've had, people up to a year or longer even. So absolutely, there's no time clock, which is also really important to know. And the other thing that's important to know is, I think I used to think before I went through it, I used to think like, grief comes in stages, right? And acceptance is the last one. But guess what? Those stages don't come in order. They can come whenever they want, whenever they feel like it, in whatever order they want. There's no neat, concise order. You'll be fine, 1 minute, and then a wave of grief can hit you the next minute. And the same is true with anticipatory grief. And I agree with you. It's anticipatory grief in so many ways is so much harder. But yeah, there's no set timeline. In fact, I think we grieve our whole lives, as well. We learn to cope.
Yeah, great point. I think too, you talked about, and I talked a bit about that feeling of being on an island. And I remember I was driving down 90, the vet called and said, Rue was terminal, and I had to pull over,
Yeah.
because you feel so alone and you feel like, oh, like, why am I going through this? And you feel like you're on an island, and you're not, because so many other people have been through it, but it's because you've not been through something like this before. And the one thing too, I think with Live Like Rue especially, is until you've experienced that, and a really sick animal, it doesn't have to be cancer, you don't understand. And I hate that, like, because a lot of people will say to me, like, Sarah, I never realized what you do, and now I see how important it is. Same with exactly the same with what you guys do, until you really need something like this. And I do want to ask you about this, because I think, and I'm one of those people who I probably should go to therapy. I don't, but it's because I think, like, is that worth my valuable time? Is that hour every week really going to help me? But it really is important, especially for anticipatory grief, and then to follow up afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so consuming. I think the anticipatory grief is so all consuming. And what I always say to people, when they reach out, it's like, I hope you can get some relief very quickly. And it's really about getting relief and being able to breathe and do the things you need to do. And, remembering, especially with anticipatory grief, that your pet is still here and you want to make that time as, as valuable as you possibly can. So, and Chloe agrees.
Yeah, and the other thing too, I mean, we've all read the research. Animals can feel your emotions, and that's what I love too on your website. It's like, don't freak out, because they can feel that, and that's one of the things that I tell people. You can't be mourning this animal when they're still alive. You've got to be doing the bucket list things. You've got to be celebrating their life while they're still here, which is it's so important, just to try to keep upbeat. And these one-on-one classes and the blogs and the Facebook page that they have are just incredible ways to do that. And it's a great, actually, addition to our support group, which is a little bit more like, what can I expect with chemo or radiation and that kind of thing.
Right.
For you, just a little bit of a personal question. What is the toughest part of this? Because I think, with your job in general, we talk about compassion fatigue and that kind of thing. But what do you do to kind of relieve your stress and get through those tough moments and a lot of hard conversations?
Yeah. I mean, well, I also want to say, Sarah, that, I'm not just a founder. I'm a member also of, the pet loss community. My 12-and-a-half-year-old Rhodesian Ridgeback, actually at the time, she was almost 11. She was 10 years, 10 months, and she was diagnosed with hemangiosarcoma, which is a very aggressive form of cancer that has about a 4-month prognosis. She is here 22 months later. And so I would say, cancer is not always a death sentence, and people need to know that also. And there are outliers, and she is an absolute miracle. I know many oncologists who have never seen a dog with her cancer live as long as she's lived. And so I think that's, because speaking of personal, you said, personally, so I just wanted to put that out there. I get it, and I'm there also in the groups, and Monica and I will both frequent, so, and then to your second question, which I forgot.
Basically, how do you deal with the compassion fatigue of your job? I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, it's really tough. And I mean, that's why we created this, was because, Monica and I mean, we have euthanized, hundreds or maybe thousands together of pets, and we have no good resources. Something like this really didn't exist. We had no good resources to send pet parents. We'd send them out with a collar in their hand. And it just doesn't exist. And we really found the need when me and her and Dr. Katie Lawler, who's our other co-founder, our doctor of clinical psychology, came together and did a live on it. And the outpouring was just, incredible. I would say, how I deal with it is, I just try to remember that it really is a gift that we have to give. And it's, I don't have a lot of hobbies, actually. I spend time with my dog. I'm home, I read, and just trying to take it one day at a time. I think it's, that's like the best advice I think that I could give.
Yeah. So for those of you that are Live Like Rue clients or have a sick animal, what we do at Live Like Rue is, like I said, we partnered with Pet Loss Community. So we will pay the bills up to a year, I think is what we've decided. And then, after that, we will figure it out. But I will tell you, Dr. Lippman, when I posted about this a few weeks ago when we launched it, I've not gotten such amazing feedback for something that we've offered. Like it's kind of like a next step for us. It's, really not just sending a care package, not just paying bills. It's like caring about the community that we've built, which is so important. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so glad that we connected, and your team is incredible. I've really immersed myself in your posts and Dr. Tarantino's posts, and I've been sharing them. It's just really great info. So thank you so much for all you do.
It's so my pleasure. And I'm sorry I'm moving around. I am being absolutely terrorized by this this senior tyrant over here.
What's her name?
Chloe.
Chloe. Hi, Chloe.
Hello. Can you hear? That's your Auntie Sarah. She's had her appetite stimulants, and she's just terrorizing me. So
she's starving. She's starving.
So yeah, I didn't time that correctly.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Lippman, for your time. Everybody, please go follow them, like them on social media, follow the individual doctors. You will see them at the beginning and end of this show, the slate, where I have their names. I'll be sure that I tag you all too as well in the body of the podcast. But thank you. We appreciate it. And I'll be in touch with you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. Any questions, please reach out to any of us at any time. Thank you so much for having us, Sarah. And thanks so much for partnering with us.
Chloe. Yes, of course. Now go feed your dog.
Thanks. Have a good night.
You
Bye.
too. Bye. Dr. Lippman, everybody, really an asset to Live Like Rue and everybody that really can use those resources. She's amazing. PetLossCommunity.com is the website. Dr. Lisa Lippman. So if you go and follow them, I'll be sure I tag them as well. Dr. Monica Tarantino is a senior dog doctor, like Dr. Lippman described. And then Dr. Katie Lawler, actually, I had contacted her before COVID, I think 2 or 3 years ago, to come on the podcast, and I was still doing it. So it was 2020. And her account blew up. She started to get a lot of spammers in there. But she does incredible work too. I cannot say enough about her. Let's give it up for the supporting sponsors. Thank you to the following supporting sponsors. Twin Tails Market and Barkery is a local family-owned business that has been serving the community for close to 7 years. Located in Palos Park, Twin Tails has everything you need to give your dogs and cats healthy and natural foods, treats, chews, toys, and so much more. You can also find them at www.twintailsmarket.com and on Facebook and Instagram as Twin Tails Market. At the Canine PT, we're dedicated to enhancing the lives of your four-legged companions through canine rehabilitation services. Throughout October, we're showing our appreciation for word-of-mouth referrals by giving away a play session at Bodley's Backyard to our top referrer. For more information, visit the Canine PT. That's THEK9PT.com. Anything is Possible is Chicago's premier dog training company. They offer group classes for every stage of your dog's life and have a talented team of behavior specialists to work through any issues that need modification using positive reinforcement. Liz Starks at Guaranteed Rate. Check with Liz for the absolute best mortgage options. She helps when others can't and even calls it rescue loans. Buyers, sellers, or investors, give Liz a call. She can lend in all 50 states. NMLS number 224526. Kimberly Kingen Photography. Kimberly is a professional photographer from Chicago who loves animals as much as you do. Her pet portraiture celebrates pure love, connection, and the beauty of life with our furry loved ones by our side. Kimberly has done some bucket list photo shoots for our Live Like Roo dogs. She does amazing work. Please check her out for your holiday photos coming up too. Look who joined me, Steven. Hi, buddy. He hopped right up on my lap. We're getting antsy. So anyway, thank you, everybody. Next week, we have Lauren Kennedy from the Tilly Project. I talked to Lauren, 5 years ago, I'm going to say. And she talked to me about the Tilly Project and her idea and the nonprofit. And bam, look at her now. The Tilly Project helps with photo shoots. So basically, photographers from around the world really volunteer their time for end of life portraits. So obviously we are in the Tilly Project a lot looking for bucket list photographers for our animals with cancer. So she's going to be a great guest. That will not be live. It'll be taped, but it'll come out Thursday at 7:00. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching live. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day.